We're with Brad Carlson, University of Minnesota Ag Extension Educator. And Brad, going back to last winter, we missed seeing you at all the Nitrogen Smart meetings in the January, February, March time period.
Well, I missed seeing everybody myself. Of course, like everyone else, we focused on our online content, and we did a lot more of that this last year. But hopefully we're going to be back out on the road this coming winter with a full slate of Nitrogen Smart meetings.
Great to see farmers out there, and I imagine you're starting to see maybe a few of them now that main planting is done and moving on to the next phase of the growing season.
It's opening up, but you know, this year with it being relatively dry and the operating conditions being so good, you know, frequently farmers are contacting Extension when they have problems, and this has been a relatively problem-free year this year, so we're actually not getting as much contact as we might in some years.
We probably shouldn't say anything about that, folks, and then his phone will start ringing maybe tomorrow. But at any rate, Brad, things are out of the ground now. As you're driving around, you're seeing corn that's emerged and moving into the spraying phase.
Yeah, we're getting there very quickly. We'll start accumulating heat units with a lot more rapidity than we have. It's been obviously very cool this year, so the crop is still pretty short. I guess from a management standpoint, though, where we're at, we're getting close on the calendar to June. And we know that there's a lot of nitrogen to be side dressed this year. That's been the trend in the industry the last several years. I would recommend to producers, don't simply be waiting because the crop is small. Look at the calendar. You know the crop is going to grow and it's going to be needing the nitrogen. So as long as you're able to get out in the field, I would not hesitate with getting out there. The only caution I would give producers is if you're using liquid, if you're using 28%, be very careful to not be contacting the plant with the fertilizer product when it's this small. But if you're using drop nozzles and you can drip it away from the plant, you should be just fine. Top dressing urea this time is just fine. I would go ahead and get at that. The other thing I would say, Jeff, with respect to nitrogen rate is we talk about flexing our rate based on environmental conditions, and the loss of nitrogen is primarily water-based. With it being so dry this year, we don't expect that we've really lost much nitrogen. And so if you've kind of flexed your rates upward a little bit higher the last few years because it has been so wet and you still have nitrogen left to side dress, I would maybe look at backing down on the rates, maybe 10 or 20 pounds, kind of depending on where you are from an overall package. But that's kind of the type of management we would look at with a year like this.
And finally, any other recommendations, thoughts as we go into June and maybe into July here in about a month?
Really haven't seen a lot yet to develop. I know some of our pest people, of course, are keeping an eye on things. There's been some issues with performance of herbicides because we haven't had a lot of precipitation to incorporate the pre-plants and so forth. But again, with it being as cool as it's been, we haven't seen a lot of weed growth, haven't seen a lot of pest emergence. I think we're really just simply having to kind of wait and see how the season develops.
And finally, from the extension standpoint here with the University of Minnesota, where can farmers go to maybe look at resources, information, meeting schedules, all the things that you have available?
Yeah, as of always, our webpage, www.extension.umn.edu, is the place you go to begin with. Our content is indexed very well, and so it's easy to navigate into the things that you want. As far as looking at events, we're looking at the university as starting to open things up a little bit more, particularly after July 1st. I think you're going to see a lot more in-person events. I mean, typically we don't do a lot before that anyway because farmers are pretty busy in the field before the 4th of July. And so I think you can look for a lot more normal schedule of things, maybe not the full contingent yet this summer, and then hopefully by next winter we're kind of back to more of a business as usual. But I think we learned a lot of lessons regarding our online presence too in the last year, and so I think you can look forward to a lot more content online in ways and places that are beneficial and more appropriate.
Brad Carlson with us today, University of Minnesota Extension Ag Educator, here at his office as we take a look at what's happening agronomically here in the early part of June. Brad, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jeff.